So thanks everyone so far, and thanks Marion for coordinating us all. I think we're getting there. We're perhaps a couple of minutes behind time, so I'll try and race through these. Obviously, we'll have the slides on the outputs from the session. So if you need to have any more information, please get in touch with me. So for my few minutes, I want to introduce the Infrastructure Institute that I've established at UCL. It's, I'm actually in the Department of Civil, Environmental and Geomatic Engineering in the Faculty of Engineering. And I want to highlight two of my staff, Andrei Postnikov and Lauren McMillan, who are specifically working as champions for DAFNI. And I'll get to that in just a moment. Now, the ISI, my Infrastructure Systems Institute, takes a multidisciplinary perspective on all our investigations into infrastructure work. What we do is try to recommend how to improve infrastructure systems because we think that the services that they provide are critical. So these are for public good generally. They're essential to meet society's needs, not only for personal use, but also for economic activity. But we also need these systems to continue to be resilient under this very volatile, changing world that we live in. And of course, we want to not only ensure we don't interrupt sustainability progress, but we actually want to make a positive impact on the environment. Now, because I'm a professor of complex systems, I'm particularly interested in uncertainties because, of course, we cannot predict the future. So the best we can do is understand how these socio-economic, ecological, technical systems are connected in the various regimes that are operating. So we're very mindful of these three aspects of infrastructure research. Now, just a quick note on what we mean by infrastructure is generally the economic infrastructures, usually the linear networks of road, the transport systems, of the water and waste systems, of the telecom systems, and of course the energy systems. But increasingly, we're looking at systems that are impacted by these directly and also provide public good, such as food systems, and of course, public health systems, and the need for things like cooling when we have the very hot temperatures that we've been seeing recently, but also the need to manage flooding as we increase our urbanization and densification in built-up environments. I want to make it very clear that we're spearheading in our institute the notion of infrastructure at UCL. And by doing this, we're going to connect across all the different faculties in UCL. So I welcome, if you work in any area of infrastructure, to please contact me so that we can put you on our map of UCL's capability for infrastructure, not necessarily just data and analytics, infrastructure in general. Now, within our institute, we have 4 research themes. We're interested in resilience, interested in sustainable innovation. We also have a big contribution to make on how to evaluate policy and indeed how to assess ex ante decisions and interventions, but also a very big interest in our zero carbon futures and how we can improve energy efficiencies in myriads of ways to avoid the implications of over consumption of resources. We have a number of models, a number of data sets that we've collected over the nearly 2 decades of work that we've been as a group. I want to highlight just 3 very quickly. So the EU Innovate model I mentioned because of the international question actually in the Q&A. So this was a work done across the European Union that brought together the implications of food, housing, mobility and energy across any scale. So we could run this model to show how these systems were integrated and their effect on sustainability across any country, any region, any city. You use the model at any scale you wanted. The stepping up model is at 2 scales. There's a county scale and also a national scale model. And indeed STFC at their facilities at RAL have already supported the running of this model with high performance computing. And finally, the agent-based logistics model, which is trying to bring across the consequences of investment in storage, investment in different freight routes, different modes of transport, such as rail and road, and also water, for the environment, but also for economic efficiency and resilience. So again, very interesting models that we'd like to make sure are hosted on the DAFNI facility going forward and are available for future development. Now, quickly on the hardware that we have. So DAFNI itself has funded CASA and ourselves with some hardware. Mike mentioned that theirs is probably hidden in a room somewhere, as it's a very large capability server. Ours is a room available to others. So please come and talk to us if you want access to these workstations. They're in the Chadwick building, or will be when we can actually get them implemented and access to the building. But I also want to note that other universities in the DAFNI family, and indeed the UCRIC family, also have hardware, and it will be possible for people in UCL to negotiate access to these. So we're seeing these as a facility, a national facility available to anyone working on infrastructure. Very quickly on our two champion activities. So we have a project called Infrastructure Research Ontologies. So we need ontologies because the increasing diffusion of cyber physical systems, if you like, Internet of Things, is enabling us to improve our decision making. Now we want to create these ontologies so that we can actually have a description for describing the different infrastructure domains, so that we can see how, when we have interactions between the two, we are actually speaking the same language at that high level. We can also use the ontologies to think about anthropogenic and behavioural activities, so that we can embrace not only the cyber and the physical system, but also the behavioural side. And they will help us to improve our decision making in our models, and actually to become more and more real time and support the sort of aspirations of digital twins and how they will connect with infrastructure research at a national level. The consortium for this project, which I'm leading, is made up of a number of the UCRIC universities, including Cranfield, Leeds, Oxford, Newcastle, and our industrial collaborator is Costain. Again, we welcome everyone's interest in this, so either Lauren McMillan or Andrei Posnikov, who are working on these projects, so please do get in touch with us and come and talk to us about any interest you have in DAFNI and infrastructure indeed. I think that's it from me, Marion.